And a fly ball into right center field. That's a long run for Mangum at the wall, and that ball is gone. A 3-run home run, and it's 11-6 in a 6-run ninth inning. Wow.
Welcome back, everybody, to Facebook Live. It's time to catch up with Indiana State baseball head coach Mitch Hannahs. Remember, you can join the conversation with us. I have my iPad out here in front of us. Just be sure to type a question or comment. We'll give it and relay it to Coach here for us. But, Coach, season's well underway. Got a big trip out west upcoming. How's Coach Hannahs feeling before you're going to be gone for about 9 games in 10 days?
Well, I think the big thing for us, Luke, is get back on the field. Obviously, after this past weekend, we played pretty good in spurts, played pretty bad in spurts. So I think with a team that is lacking experience, the thing you need to do is just get back on the field. So we're looking forward to going to Utah. Not looking forward to the weather right now. We're just going to be 20 degrees warmer here in Terre Haute, which my wife informed me this morning. But we're looking forward to getting back on the field.
When I caught up with you before the season officially began a couple weeks ago, you said, look, beginning portion of that schedule, you're always going to be tweaking. You're going to be finding out a lot about your team. So far, what have you found out a lot about your team and putting some guys into some different positions?
Well, I think when we talked before, we talked about pitching really needing to hold the fort for a while, but we figured out a lineup. That hasn't been the case as much as we would have hoped, but I have seen improvement. I saw some glimpses last weekend of some things. I think the big thing for us is actually figuring out by conference time who are those starters going to be, how are we going to align in the bullpen, who's going to be in the middle, who's going to be late, who's going to be our left on left, right on right in a short sequence of events, and then who can stand in the front of our order. We knew losing the top 4 hitters from last year. When you lose that 1 through 4, you know, they're there for a reason. They're there because they can work counts and give you quality at bats over and over and over and over. And we've had some different guys in and out of there, and we're still looking for some consistency in that part of the order. But after the Mississippi State 4 games, you know, after playing Marist, we were walking out on Sunday, and my assistant coach, Brian Smiley, turned to me and said, Coach, this is probably the most we've learned about a team in this shorter time period and the time that we've been here, because we kind of knew in some of those other years based on who we had coming back and guys that have been 2 or 3 year veterans, you kind of knew what you had. This year we really didn't, and that's why I was a little wishy-washy early. But I do believe by the end of this season we have a chance to have a very good club.
How do you balance so early on this season of you're going up against really good competition, Mississippi State this past weekend, an SEC foe, and in front of 10,000 plus down there in Starkville, of obviously you want that difficult schedule, but you also want to find out a lot about your team. How do you really keep your team through that? Really, yes, it does come down to wins and losses, and I don't want to say that you don't really care whether you win the games because you went down to Starkville to win them. But how do you really balance that early on when you do have such a difficult schedule?
Well, I think as you look at it, even go back to the first weekend. If you go back to the first weekend, we played Illinois State, Youngstown State, and Austin Peay. And you don't know at the start of a season how good somebody's going to be. You really don't know what you're walking into. Obviously, Illinois State throttled us in Game 1, which was probably good for us in the long run. And then Game 3, we beat Austin Peay, and walking out of there, you felt like Austin Peay was probably, at this point in time, the best team there. And they just went to NC State and beat NC State, who was ranked number 6 in the country this last weekend, a game. And Youngstown State beat Georgia Tech a game in their series last weekend. So you kind of move guys in and out based on who you think they have a chance to maybe get their feet wet without overwhelming them. And so going to Mississippi State, we kept a couple young kids kind of in that area where they would play maybe against Marist, but not Mississippi State. And then you find out after the fact that Marist is playing every bit as well as Mississippi State. You know, they're the first game they played, I think, was 6-4 into the ninth, or into the bottom of the 8th when Mississippi State broke it open. And then after we beat Marist on Sunday, they turned around and beat Mississippi State. So you just come to the conclusion that there's no way to sugarcoat it. You just need to throw them in there and let them get their feet wet. And we've tried different combinations looking for kind of a replacement to Cody Gardner, who we lost to a separated shoulder, who we had projected to play third base for us. And we've kind of moved around and looked at some different scenarios there. We've looked at some different scenarios in the outfield. We've looked at some different scenarios out of the bullpen. But the bottom line, in the spring, the lines are down for real. In the fall, you can't simulate that. No matter how much you try to get to game speed action in practice and all the other things, you can't simulate it. And I have no idea how a young person is going to react when they're out there on the field against Mississippi State and the entire left field lounge is calling them by name and getting after them. And you just don't know until you put them in that. So for us to say that we forecast that and really do a good job, that's tough. We're probably learning more than the players at this point in time.
You know, I feel at times, almost regardless of who the head coach is, one of the biggest things they always preach is we have to focus on ourselves, not necessarily who we're playing. And you kind of brought up so much early in the season, you don't really know who's necessarily going to be good yet from an opponent standpoint. You brought up Austin Peay able to go down and play NC State. How much more really in baseball does that magnify of, I understand we're going up against really good competition, but guys, we really just got to focus on ourselves internally really right now and make sure we're doing the things that we need to do to play Indiana State baseball.
No, I think that's very accurate of all coaches. I think the big thing, and that's probably why we were a little disappointed coming out of Mississippi State, and we've talked about that with our team. I felt that we've worked an entire fall to ingrain the type of personality we want as a team, the type of approach that we're going to have. And I think in athletics today, you have to be very aggressive. You have to be extremely aggressive, and the aggressive team over the long haul is probably going to be the successful team. And we just saw a few of those moments where we had an opportunity to take the extra base. We didn't take that chance. You know, it might have been bang, bang, might have gotten thrown out, but we didn't take that chance. We had an opportunity with some balls in the dirt, and we didn't take that chance. You know, we had some 3-1 counts or some 2-0 counts where we're swinging late on a fastball. You know, just those things that you feel like we should have done a better job with our group as a coaching staff of having them ready and making sure that we're able to execute those things. We didn't do a great job, so when you come back, you start cleaning up yourself, and that's really what this comes down to, because there, obviously, when you get to a certain portion of the season, there are certain mistakes that you can't continually make if you want to have success, and in particular in baseball, those little things turn into big things against good teams because they can take advantage. You know, we're 3-0 into the fifth, and we don't execute a play, and next thing you know, we give up a 4 spot when we should have 2 outs and nobody on. You know, I sat there on my little notepad, and we're 0-2 5 or 6 different times in the weekend, and we don't close a hitter out. But those little things really magnify, and a lot of that you have to try to distinguish as a coach how much of that is a young person getting his first opportunity trying to do too much. And most of these guys, I promise you, these guys to the fan base, but they try. And most times they try too hard. And the ability to relax and let the game come to you. And then if that's happening, you're able to think in those tough situations. And I just felt like we were some mindless axemen out there at times this last weekend, going to the plate with an axe, and we're just going to chop the damn tree down, and no idea of working a count. What am I facing out there? You know, is he a sinker slider guy? What's he trying to do to me? So I just felt like a lot of those things jumped upon us, and we weren't able to really analyze the situation and give the best of ourselves in some of those situations.
I brought up to you at the beginning, 9 games in 10 days when you head on this trip out west. Tell really Sycamore fans what the travel schedule is like and the teams you'll be playing.
We actually head out tomorrow morning. We fly into Salt Lake City and then bus down to Orem, Utah for 4 games. And then after that 4-game set, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we get on a bus and bus to Seattle. We play Seattle there on Wednesday, have a day off Thursday, and then we play Washington Friday, single game, doubleheader Saturday, single game Sunday. This trip kind of came to be because Tyler Freese, our shortstop, is from Seattle, and when we recruited him, we told him we would really work to take a trip west so his family could see him play. So, and looking at the weather forecast, he's not a popular guy on our team right now. But and I think the other thing that a lot of folks don't realize, we just had the 3 games the first weekend. We had 4 this weekend. A lot of teams play 3. We put 4 in there, and we put 2 4-game series out west, that forces me as a conservative coach to use a lot of our pitchers. You don't have a choice. And I think a lot of times if you're not forced to do that early in the year, you find out too late what you really have. You know, a 3-game series, you can probably condense your pitching staff to 7, 8 guys. When you look at 4 games, you're probably going to expand that to 10, maybe even 12 guys. So it just forces you as a coach to get more people out there to really give a good look at what you got and learn more about your pitching staff as opposed to figuring it out in a conference tournament late in the season.
And you brought up Tyler's family, being able to see him. For you as a coach, I know you're so busy on the here and now and also looking towards the future and going out and recruiting and trying to get future Sycamores to come. But a trip like this, I know you're about to go on it, but what's it mean to really allow Tyler to play in front of his family and give him that opportunity?
Well, I think with technology, people can sit back and watch, but that's not the same. It's not the same as being able to walk in and, you know, you got a young man that made the commitment to come from Seattle, Washington to Terre Haute, Indiana, knowing that his time with family would be very limited. You take summer ball and all the other pieces, he basically gets home at Thanksgiving and a little time at Christmas, and that's about it. So to follow up and give him that opportunity, I know our team's excited about going out there too, regardless of the weather, because Tyler's talked to him about his home area, and he's probably lied a little bit, but they all think it's a pretty neat place. So, and it's nice to take our team to an area that they may never get to go back to.
And we, again, touched on this a couple weeks ago, but I'll ask it to you again because I think it's really important. One of the kind of, I would call it a beauty that you get to do so early in the season is you do get to travel so much. And your guys, yes, they spend a lot of time around each other, but they spend even more time with each other on a bus and on a plane and being able to go travel this weekend. Really just speak of the benefit of being around each other so much that you'll have. Yes, you'll get to play and you'll find a lot about your team on the field, but also just through travel being able to build that bond as well.
Yeah. I think you're around each other a lot during the fall, but it's not the same. It's not like being away, and these are your only friends for this point in time. But it really forms a strong bond with the group. It's a continuity piece that I think really brings teams together. We don't always like it while we're doing it because it is tiring, and academically it's really hard. Get the grades. We had the midterms sent to us yesterday, or some of the grades are where we're at right now before we go on this trip, and that's the part that a lot of these guys, a lot of people don't understand. They spend a lot of time even on the road and study tables and trying to take care of academics while we're away.
Coach, my final question to you, and you've already kind of hinted at it, of having these different series, the 4-game series, it really forces your hand a bit to find out more about your team. Really overall, what do you hope to find out about your team during this road trip?
Well, I hope that by the time we come back from this trip, obviously we've got Ethan Larison, who's been out the first couple of months here. He's going to filter back into our pitching staff. And I think the big thing for us is we want to come back from this trip getting ready for the Oakland series and absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt know who our 1, 2, and 3 are going to be on the mound initially. And I think the other thing is putting that bullpen in order and know where we're going to bring certain guys and when. And as you figure that out, it seems less likely that a game's blown up on you by bringing the wrong guy at the wrong time. And I think that's extremely important to know who can mentally and physically handle coming out of that bullpen very late in a close game. And, you know, that's a tough task. And I think the other thing is we have to begin to lock in on a lineup and a consistent lineup. I haven't been around many good teams that come to the ballpark and have to look at the lineup card to see who's in there. So I think we have to let some of that play out. And we had such close competition in some areas that we've had to shuffle a little bit right now just to kind of figure out, okay, this guy was really close in the fall. He's really been up this guy's heels. We got to give him a chance. We got to throw him out. We got to see. Because I think in coaching, we really get caught overlooking the consistent, steady player. Potential catches our eye, and we run that guy out there because he can hit some balls out of the park or he can really run. But Mr. Consistent sneaks up on you, and if you're not careful, he'll be here and gone, and you won't have utilized him. So that's really what we hope to find out on this trip.
As Coach Hannahs said, Sycamores will hit the road this weekend, heading out west. The first series will be against Utah Valley, and they'll have Seattle and then Washington to wrap up 9 games in 10 days. Coach Hannahs, are you packed up? You ready to go? You got your movies for the bus? Everything right?
I'm close. My wife said we played so bad last weekend, she made me do my own laundry this time, so I've still got to finish my laundry.
So that close.
Yeah,
You're not quite done. But Coach, good luck this week, and I appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
Once again, that was Coach Mitch Hannahs. Be sure to join us next week as well for another edition of Facebook Live with the Sycamores. For Coach Mitch Hannahs, I am Luke Martin. Good luck to the Sycamores. Let's get some wins this weekend.